All right, let's jump right in. Today we're going to be exploring Exodus chapter 29.
That's right.
This chapter, it's all about the consecration of the priests.
Yeah.
And you gave me some incredible insights from My Christian Space,
Yeah.
which analyzes this chapter verse by verse, really helps us to sort of uncover what's going on here.
Right.
So, what's the big deal with all these rituals? What do they really mean?
I think the rituals are really fascinating because, they give us a glimpse into some timeless spiritual principles. Things like holiness, sacrifice, the very essence of relationship between humanity and the divine. We're going to be talking about all that today.
Okay, so right off the bat, we've got this very specific list of ingredients for the consecration ceremony.
Right.
All right, we've got a young bull, 2 rams, and then there's this interesting detail about the bread.
Right.
Why 3 types of unleavened bread?
Yeah.
And why are they all placed in a single basket?
Yeah, I think it's fascinating. We have matzah. We have matzah cakes mixed with oil, and then we have matzah wafers spread with oil. And all of that is in a single basket. And I think you can think of that almost as a blueprint for the human soul engaging in worship.
Wait, hold on. A blueprint for my soul?
Mm.
That's more than just a grocery list, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, this trinity of bread, if you will, it mirrors the 3 parts of the human soul, right?
Yeah.
The body, mind, and the spirit.
Oh, I see.
All 3 of those things, though they're distinct, are brought together in one basket,
Right.
united in worship.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's a very powerful image. Our entire being is meant to participate in connecting with God.
Wow, that is so much deeper than I initially saw.
Yeah.
So it's not just about baking bread. It's about bringing our whole selves
Yes, exact.
to the table, so to speak.
I love that.
All right, so what happens next in this consecration ceremony?
Well, the next step is all about transformation, right?
Yeah. Literally stepping into a new state of being, the priests undergo this washing ritual.
Yeah, but it's not just your everyday bath.
Yeah, it's not about getting clean.
The text specifically mentions a mikveh.
Yes, right.
Now, didn't you explain that a mikveh is, it's about more than just physical cleansing?
Absolutely. The mikveh, it's like imagine immersing yourself in water. You're leaving behind the past.
Right.
And you emerge as a new creation. That's the power of the mikveh. It's symbolic of death and resurrection.
Boy.
And in this case, the priests are moving from the ordinary to the holy, right? They're being set apart for a higher purpose.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting for me.
Oh.
The analysis that you gave me connected the netzer, that holy ornament that's on the high priest's turban,
Yes.
with the term Nazarene. I know this has some pretty significant implications.
It's a really interesting connection. It's
Yeah.
intriguing, right? And if we just look back for a second at chapter 28, the netzer, it was intended to sanctify the offerings brought by the people.
Right.
So by connecting it to Nazarene, the text could be subtly foreshadowing the work of Yeshua,
Okay.
Jesus, who in the Christian tradition is considered that ultimate sacrifice, right? He sanctifies and atones for all humanity.
Okay, that makes me want to grab my highlighter. It's like the writers dropping these little breadcrumbs, right? Connecting these seemingly small details
Right.
across chapters and even centuries.
Exactly.
And to think it all started with headwear.
Right.
All right, so we've got unity with the bread, transformation with the mikveh, and
Right.
now this possible messianic link with the netzer.
Yeah.
What comes next in this consecration journey?
Well, things take a more visceral turn. We move into the realm of sacrifice, specifically the sacrifice of the young bull.
Whoa. Okay, that escalated quickly.
I know, right?
And there's that powerful image of Aaron and his sons. They're laying their hands on the bull's head before it's slaughtered. What's the significance of that action?
Oh, the laying on of hands, that's absolutely key here, right?
Yeah.
Imagine their sins, the weight of human imperfection, being symbolically transferred onto the bull. It becomes this substitute, right? A sacrificial offering to atone for those sins.
If we consider the foreshadowing that we just talked about,
Yes.
this ritual takes on an even greater significance, don't you think?
Precisely. Yeah, the bull being slaughtered outside the camp.
Right.
It parallels the crucifixion of Jesus outside the walls of Jerusalem.
Wow.
It's this powerful visual echo, reinforcing that concept of atonement, right? An innocent being taking on the burden of sin to reconcile humanity with the divine.
Man, there's so many layers here to unpack. And speaking of layers, we can't ignore the use of blood in these ceremonies. It's everywhere. on the horns of the altar, it's splashed on the sides of the altar, and even applied to the priests' bodies.
It's true. Blood is everywhere.
What is the meaning behind all of this?
Well, blood takes on multiple roles, reflecting the complexity of these rituals, right?
Right.
You can almost think of it as a language,
Okay.
with each application communicating a very distinct message.
Okay, so walk me through the language of blood. What is it saying to us?
So the blood on the horns of the altar, it consecrates the altar, right? Setting it apart as holy.
Okay.
The splashing purifies the space and those within it. It's washing away impurities.
Okay.
And then the blood applied to the priests, it marks them as set apart, dedicated to that sacred role.
It's like each drop of blood tells a story. It's both fascinating and a bit intense, especially for someone like me who doesn't handle the sight of blood very well.
I get it, yeah. I think maybe that's part of the point, right?
Okay.
These rituals were designed to evoke those strong emotions, to draw us into the gravity of the situation.
So we've covered the sacrifice, the symbolism of blood. What's next on the consecration agenda?
Well, we've really only just begun.
Okay.
There's so much more.
All right, we're going to take a quick break.
Yeah.
And when we come back, we'll continue this fascinating journey through Exodus chapter 29.
We've got this ritual called the wave offering. and guess what? Those 3 types of bread, they make another appearance.
Oh, okay.
Alongside some choice cuts of ram.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. 3 seems to be like a magic number in this chapter. But why, wave these things in front of the Lord? It seems like a strange dance move to me.
Yeah, well, it's not about fancy footwork. Think of it more as a symbolic gesture of surrender and gratitude.
Okay.
Imagine holding up these emblems of strength, nourishment, and unity. You're acknowledging God's sovereignty. You're expressing thanks for the victory of aligning with His will.
It's like a physical manifestation of an inward commitment.
Yeah, I love that.
Like saying, I'm all in with both hands up.
That's a great way to put it.
All right, and speaking of sustenance, the analysis mentions the priests receiving specific portions of the ram and the peace offerings.
Right.
So it's not just about burning everything on the altar.
Right. Yeah, there's a practical element here, too.
Yeah.
They get the breast and the thigh from the consecration ram. Those are considered the best parts.
Right.
And they also get similar portions from the peace offerings that are brought by the people.
So their sustenance is directly tied to the offerings made to God.
Yes.
That's a pretty powerful statement.
Yes.
Their dependence on God, but also the community they serve.
It really speaks to that interconnectedness of everything. The priests are sustained by those offerings. It shows their reliance on God and the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's this reminder that their role is not to stand above the people,
Right.
but to really serve as a bridge, facilitating that connection between humanity and the divine.
Now, we've covered a lot.
Yeah.
We've talked about the bread, the mikvah, foreshadowing of Jesus,
Right.
all those intense blood rituals we've talked about, the wave offering. But there's still more, right?
Oh, yeah. We haven't even touched on the 7-day consecration process or the daily offerings.
7 days. That's a long time to be consecrated.
I know, right? It's a process.
What's the significance of that time frame?
Well, there's that number 7 again.
Right.
In Hebrew tradition, it represents completeness, perfection, holiness. Think of it like a spiritual deep cleanse.
Okay.
Total immersion in the divine. It's a gradual process. It's not a quick fix.
And it makes you think about our modern tendency towards instant gratification.
It really does.
We want everything fast and easy, but true transformation, it takes time and dedication.
Yeah, it's a timeless principle.
Yeah.
Those 7 days emphasize the thoroughness, that transformative nature of dedication. It's not just going through the motions. It's about letting the process change you from the inside out.
And it's not just about Aaron and his sons. This sets a precedent for future priests.
Exactly. It's establishing the sacred tradition, a legacy of holiness passed down through generations.
Wow.
And that brings us to those daily offerings, a practice that speaks to the importance of continually connecting with God.
So it's not like they're clocking in
Right.
for a weekly service. They're maintaining that connection every day.
Exactly. Day in and day out.
What did these daily offerings entail?
Well, the chapter's very specific. It describes 2 lambs, both a year old,
Okay.
offered every day, one in the morning and
wow.
one at dusk. And they're accompanied by grain and drink offerings as well. It's a constant reminder, of their dependence on God
Yeah.
and their commitment to serving Him.
It's a serious commitment. But it's not a one-way street, right? God also promises to meet them at the doorway of the tent of meeting.
That's so important, right?
Yeah.
It's about seeking access to God's presence, to his revelation, his guidance.
Right.
It's about cultivating that intimate relationship, through consistent communication.
I'm sensing a theme here. It's not about like grand gestures or occasional visits.
Right.
It's about showing up day after day, actively seeking connection, nurturing that relationship.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder how many of us, approach our spiritual lives with that same level of dedication.
It's a powerful question, and it leads us to the ultimate purpose behind all of this.
Okay, I've been waiting for this.
I know, right?
What's the big reveal? What's the ultimate goal of all this priestly consecration?
Well, the chapter tells us that it's about consecrating the people of Israel as a whole, manifesting God's glory, and establishing Israel as a light unto the nations.
Okay, so we're zooming out now.
Yes.
From the individual priests to the entire nation and their purpose in the world.
Exactly. The consecration of the priest, it's just the beginning.
Okay.
It's about setting a standard of holiness that permeates the whole community. It's this ripple effect that transforms not just individuals, but the whole nation.
And a light unto the nations. That's a pretty bold claim. What does that even mean?
Well, it implies that Israel is meant to be this beacon, this beacon of righteousness, spiritual enlightenment for the rest of the world. It's a call to embody their faith in a way that inspires and uplifts others.
Wow.
Drawing them closer to the divine.
So from the meticulous details of like the bread types,
I know,
to the grand vision of being a light unto the nations, this chapter is packed.
It is, yeah. It's really amazing.
Exodus 29, it takes us from the practical, like priestly clothing,
right,
the rituals,
yeah,
to the really spiritual.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Holiness, sacrifice, Israel's mission in the world. It's like a crash course in ancient spirituality, with implications for us even today.
What strikes me is how they blend the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
You have these very specific instructions for rituals, for offerings, even the clothes they wear. But every element points to something deeper. It points beyond the material world.
Yeah, it's like they're using physical objects like a language.
Yes.
To express spiritual truths.
Exactly.
Blood, bread, garments, offerings.
Yeah.
They're all symbols.
They are.
That reach towards something intangible, something beyond our everyday experience.
Precisely. That's how these rituals gain their power. They're not empty actions. They're not superstitions. They're a way to actively engage with God.
Right.
Making the abstract concrete, bringing the spiritual realm into the physical world.
And that idea of bringing the spiritual into the physical, it makes me think about the mikveh.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about just like a quick wash. It's total immersion.
Right. Yeah.
Symbolic death and resurrection.
Right.
Stepping into this new way of being.
Exactly. And that resonates across, cultures and spiritual traditions, this idea of purification, shedding the old self, embracing the new. It's a universal theme. It speaks to our deepest longing for renewal, transformation.
It makes you realize that these ancient rituals, they come from this very specific time and place.
Yeah.
But they tap into something so fundamental about being human.
Absolutely.
That yearning for connection, for meaning, for something that's beyond ourselves.
I think that's what makes studying these texts so rewarding. We're not just unearthing historical facts. We're encountering this timeless wisdom.
Yeah.
And it can illuminate our own lives.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Exodus 29,
yeah,
I'm really struck by the depth and the complexity of these rituals. We've talked about the symbolism, the historical connections, the theological concepts.
Right.
And honestly, I feel like we've only just scratched the surface.
There's always more to uncover. More to ponder, more to connect to our own lives. These texts are like bottomless wells of wisdom.
And the more we dig in, the more we realize there's more to learn.
Always more.
So to our listener, as you reflect on these ancient rituals, consider, how they speak to your own understanding of dedication and purpose.
Yes.
What does it mean to be set apart for something greater than yourself? What sacrifices are you willing to make on your own spiritual journey? And how can you be a light in your own corner of the world? The answers, they may not lie in the ancient texts.
Right.
But the very act of asking, the act of engaging with these themes, that's a journey worth taking.
That's beautifully said.